Welcome back to another episode. We have Sally again. We're going to continue our favorite topic about being Asian, how we grew up as Asians. And then today we wanted to continue on the topic that we kind of started at our last episode about being introvert and being business owners. So we were just brainstorming before we started recording and some of the stories that we want to share. So we're going to be touching on networking, we're going to be touching on public speaking, we're going to be touching on just getting out of the house and getting out of your comfort area. So I'm super excited to talk about this topic with you, Sally. Well, let's first define introvert and extrovert. All these terms are kind of being thrown around a lot lately. How would you describe yourself in terms of these two words?
Originally, I thought introvert is somebody who would rather be that by themselves and needs to recharge every time they're out in a social event. That's what I think until Michael, he's very social, very extrovert, but there are times that he also needs to recharge. So I feel like introvert and extrovert is almost an identity that we give ourselves because there are times that I'm with people, my right group of people, and I feel recharged. I finish that group and I feel just, wow, I want to do so much more. And there has been time where I would go into a group, I can't wait to get out and go home, get in my pajamas and just read my book.
That's so true.
Yeah, so I think perhaps we are more lean towards the introvert traits because we have
Mhm.
more of that. But at the same time, I personally believe that we are extrovert introvert, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's funny because when I first learned about this whole introvert extroverted thing, or when it started getting popular again, they say that introverted people are like they can only have a certain amount of energy to go out and to socialize with people, and they come back and they need to recharge, kind of like what you said. And then I kind of saw a new definition lately about introverts is that basically we're social animals with the right type of people. We're just not social with everybody. And that kind of gave me more power to feel that way instead of just, oh, I need to recharge and I cannot connect with everybody. It was just another way to view this kind of maybe closeness of mine, or I don't want to say shyness, but absolutely not the party animal or the person who hypes the whole room when we have a party or a gathering, right? So I think it's also like not to coin ourselves in a box is that yes, there are specific traits that we can be a little bit more reserved or wanting to have that kind of time for ourselves, but also it's like we can be very social, like in different types of environment with family or people that we feel super comfortable with. And I can definitely like open up a lot more. I'm sure you do with your husband as well. Like I can just be completely silly with the people that I feel safe with. So I feel like I want to start off with saying that like do not coin ourselves in a box and a definition of what introvert or extroverted is, because we all have some elements of each sides, and then also finding the people that you feel comfortable with.
Absolutely. And I recently came into the realization that in business, you focus on what you're good at,
Mm,
right? In business, I think that applies, especially in partnership. But when it
mm,
comes to life, you can't just keep doing what you're good at. You have got to try things, new things that you're not good at. You gotta go through challenges in life. Otherwise, you won't be able to learn new skills. And that's what we're gonna talk about here today because
yeah,
we are not good at socializing
yeah.
or being in the crowd, but we choose to level up ourselves and you go through those challenges, right, Suzanne?
Absolutely. Especially being a business owner, there's definitely a lot of new skills that I had to teach myself in the beginning. I want to start us off with this story. So when I started in real estate, I remember I just left my corporate job and I wanted to kind of go meet people because they say you need to go network in this real estate business. So I figured there was this lady that I was kind of seeing a lot on the Facebook group. We had this like real estate investor Facebook group, and she would post a lot of her like flips and all her app before and after photos, and kind of liked her vibe. And I saw one day that she was hosting an open house at the house that she recently just finished flipping. And I remember I was on the phone with my coach and I'm like, oh my God, like this afternoon is her open house. I want to go meet her. It's literally like 15 minutes away from my house. It's like one of the closest open house I've seen in my area. So this would be the perfect opportunity to go meet her. And I was just so scared to even like put on my clothes, change my clothes, and to go meet her at the house when she was asking for people to come see her. And we had a whole conversation with my coach saying, okay, you can do this. It's okay. You're not going to die. It's going to be a new experience for you because I was so used to being an engineer behind the computer. And I'm like, I'm okay not talking to anybody, being behind my documents and everything. So I think that was one of the most remarkable kind of ways of me understanding that yes, I can actually step out that way and to try new things. And really ultimately what I learned is that it's not difficult. It's just something new. And especially as somebody who's like who loves her comfort zone in her own home, I think that's I'm super proud that I was able to do that. Yes, it was scary. Yes, I was driving up to her place and I was still sitting in the car for like 2 minutes before I stepped out of the car. But it turned out to be beautiful friendship that I was able to build with her. And the reason why I kind of felt drawn to her because she looks so kind, even on the internet and in her videos. So I'm proud that I'm able to do that and that I get to share this story with you guys. And yes, it definitely took me getting out of my comfort zone to try new things so that I could build this business and to meet people in the industry.
What would you say is the main emotion that makes you not want to go to that networking event?
That's a good question. I think it's I don't know what to say to them. I was always afraid of that awkward pause of when you're both running out of stuff to say and you're trying to figure out what things to say next, but then you're face to face to each other. I think I was always scared of those moments.
I think that was me too, not knowing what to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And so, besides your coach telling you that, hey, Suzanne, you're fine, you're not going to die, you just got to go, is there another tool or another thing, something else that you tell yourself to
Mm.
actually get you there? Do you notice the thought process of when do you just tell yourself, stop it, just do it?
That's a good question. It's like I think of the benefit that I can get on the other side. The benefit for me going to that open house was I can finally get to meet somebody in the industry that I was trying to step into. It was completely brand new to me. And having that, it was a lady, first of all. So it was somebody that I definitely wanted to connect with. And it's like thinking of that positive outcome of, okay, once I've done it, maybe I will feel a little awkward or maybe I'll make a new friend. I think just that will kind of drive me and pull me towards, okay, it's okay. I can step up and take this challenge.
That's really good. It's like you
Yeah.
use curiosity.
Mm,
You first had anxiety and you turn that
yes.
anxiety into curiosity. Hey, what if it
Right.
works out? What if I have the best time of my life?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah. What are some
yeah.
of your experiences for you?
Yeah, networking was a huge thing as well, since you kind of cover it already. And I used similar methods as you. I just sit in the car for a long time, not just 2 minutes, wait like 10, 15 minutes. Okay, it's almost done. Let me just go inside and catch the end of it, that kind of thing. So for me, the biggest thing as an introvert being an entrepreneur is actually getting out of the house because we are just so comfortable in our little room, not
Yeah.
even on the kitchen table, but our own room. And in order for us to get up, get ready, I feel like I'm an overthinker. And when I think about all the steps that I need to take in order to get out of the house, I'm already exhausted.
Mm,
So I have to just stop myself in the track of those downward spiral thoughts and just take one step at a time. What is the
mm,
next step I need to do? Well, the next step is go brush my teeth, wash my face. Once that's done, then I'll decide what's next to do. For me, when I start just taking the first step, the next step kind of come easier, more natural, and then I have like less anxiety. And before I know it, I'm out of the house. And usually
mm.
when I'm out of the house, I'll be gone all day and I won't get home until like 11 or 12. But when I'm in
Uh-huh.
the house, I don't even want to get out anymore.
Yeah.
That's a challenge with me, even till today, not just early on. And, as an entrepreneur, we have to do networking, sales, we have to do training, and all of that. Sometimes we have to coach and mentor our team.
Mm,
So all the challenges that I was going through in terms of how do I overcome myself and all the fears that I had was I have a mentor to look up to. Yeah. A lot of times, if I am unsure of a situation, I would just ask, what would so and so do in this situation? And
mm.
what I think they would do, then I'll decide, all right, yeah, that makes sense. I'll do it. Because a lot of
Wow.
times we don't have our mentor with us and they're not available right away for us
Right.
chat us down our anxiety.
Yeah. That's two really good points that you brought up, like that overthinking. When we get into our head and it becomes so many steps, like I need to change, I need to brush my teeth, I need to pack my bag, I need to make sure I grab that piece of paper. When it becomes so complicated, then our mind goes like, "Oh my god, it's so hard to even take action." I love how you just said it's like just that one step, the next small step, brushing teeth. Okay, next step is washing your face. Like just one step at a time instead of like overcrowding your head with all those thoughts and all those to-dos. I think that's a huge, huge tip of how we overcome things that we don't necessarily want to do, especially being an entrepreneur. And we do come across those things a lot. And then the other thing that you mentioned is thinking about your mentor, like what would your mentor do? That's huge. Just stepping into that another person's identity to help you kind of decide if I was my mentor, like what would that person do? And it really helps you kind of to step into another persona, the persona that we have at home. You know, it's like the comfortable staying at home, being in our little corner. Whereas we do have to kind of put on different personas as an entrepreneur, I think. Like even just going out and meeting people or networking, for example, that's kind of like outside of my 100% full time comfort zone, right?
And I think you might have experienced this as well, is that when you get to a networking event or any
Mm.
socialized event, you have to choose what version of Suzanne are you gonna
Mm.
be? Are you gonna be a playful Suzanne? Are you gonna be like the know-it-all Suzanne or the coach or whatever it is? And I find myself having to decide once I get into the room, I'll be like, let's talk to a few people and decide how the vibe is. And then I'll kind of morph into that, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, become a
Yeah.
chameleon.
Yeah. I actually want to share something about which version I want to bring. So, I had this time where I was at a Tony Robbins event. It was a virtual event. We were with a group of friends at his place, kind of like 4 or 5 people. And I remember the identity or the version that I chose to attend that event. It was like August last year. It was like, I'm a participant and I'm just here to absorb the information. I'm not really here to contribute or support other participants. I'm just here as a
Mhm,
learner. Whereas a few months later, December of last year, so 4 months apart of these two events, same type of event, Tony Robbins, we were still doing it virtually with a group of friends at an Airbnb. And then the identity that I brought on to that December event was I'm here to support because it was something that I've already attended before. And it was I'm here to volunteer and support other participants. And just coming in with these two different identities to the same event, I realized that I brought on different actions. Like I was in the December event, I was a lot more outgoing and I was outreaching to a lot more of the participants. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Is there something I can help you? Whereas in August, the first one, I was just like kind of like shut off and in my own little bubble and not really talking to anybody or connecting with anybody. So I think that persona point that you brought up, that's huge because we can always decide. Like there's so many versions of us inside of us, and we can always decide which version we want to bring to before we even stepped into the door, maybe that we want to bring to the event that we're attending.
yeah, I think that's a huge, huge thing, huge skills or action
Mm,
point that we could decide before we
yeah,
do anything in life,
yeah,
because
yeah,
what we decide to be determines the outcome that we're gonna get,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I feel like entrepreneur is just the same as anybody else. The only thing
Mm,
different that we might have is resources. We just
mm,
somehow able to pull resource from left and right, from our
yeah,
friends, from our brain, past memory,
yeah.
and able to solve a certain problem right in front of us, even
Yeah,
when we have never faced that issues before.
that's
Yeah,
true.
I think
That's
that
true.
brain, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Flexibility that we have, adaptability
Mm, yeah, yeah. I think so. I want to ask you this question. Do you think introverted people could be more successful in business in a different way compared to extroverts?
is really interesting because I was reading a statistic that says not all introverts are successful business owners, but most successful business owners are introverts.
Mm,
And
interesting.
I honestly think because a lot of introverts, we spend time by ourselves and we have a lot of time to retrospect and rethink our thinking process and just have a lot more time to just cut out the noise and be instead of just trying to please
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, people pleasing is one of the aspect of it as well, but instead of just constantly chasing to please people, we
Mm.
purposely sit by ourselves and we purposely think about really difficult thoughts and situation that has happened in life. For example, if last week I had a public speaking, I would keep thinking for 2 weeks, did it go well? Did the point get across? Who liked it? Who did not like it? I didn't get any feedback, but I was giving myself feedback, right? So
Mm.
I realized that I'm willing to do those sort of constructive feedback for myself more than before.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
compared to Michael, for example, he's an extrovert. He would just, it's done. Let's move on. And then I have to like purposely, okay, let's talk about what happened.
Yeah. Do that reflection. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think there's pros and cons to both sides, right? Because I feel like we often feel like, oh, the other side's better than us. And that's really just us judging ourselves. I feel like the extroverts, they're so social, they're so good at networking, they're so good at talking, and they're so fun to be around. Like, I just want to be in their energy. But then, like, that's a bit of dimming my own light. So I feel like you brought up a really good point where you celebrate the introverts because we're the ones who really take that introspection into ourselves, giving ourselves the feedback and to really improve on the next step, which may sound judgy here, but maybe extroverted are known for their impulsive kind of decision and they do decide quicker. Well, that's my opinion. And I feel like that helps them, yes, take action maybe quicker, but then also that introspection is also very, very important. So I feel like both sides, maybe we just need to work with extroverted and introverted people all the time in the businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's no such thing as one size fit all. If somebody
Mm,
tell you that, it's a scam.
yeah.
And I strongly believe that we live in a duality where
Mm,
in order for you to feel love, you gotta feel some hatred somewhere. If you want to feel happiness, you gotta feel sadness somewhere. Otherwise, if your life is
mm,
only happiness, how would you know that is happiness? You have nothing else to compare to, right?
wow.
So
Yeah.
the gift of being an introvert is that we're able to allow other people to see a different side of us. For example, if I'm an extrovert, I would look at you like, so is what an introvert would look like. That's how I would look like if I'm an introvert, like Suzanne, for example, and vice versa, right? I look at
Mm.
Michael. He is like the life of the party. Once he walked in, everybody's like, hey. And it takes us 30 minutes to walk around the room, like finish walking around the room or longer time. And me, I'm just like back, getting my drinks,
Yeah.
getting myself comfortable before I say hi to anybody.
Yeah.
Well, an interesting thing, I'm not sure if this happens to you, but Michael did say that I have more of like a selfish tendency. I would
Mm,
take care of myself first, make sure my needs, my daughter's needs are taken care of first before anybody else, even his. If I'm in not so good place mentally, I'll be very aggravated and irritated. I let him know that, hey, right now my head is not clear. So just give me some time.
mm,
Compared to him, he's not able to tell people, stop. I need my
wow.
time because he's such an extrovert and he's just always giving. And maybe
Mm,
also his pleasing personality as well.
mhm, right.
That we talked to last
Wow.
episodes,
Yeah.
right? Talk about.
Uh-huh. Wow. I think like just like the grass is always greener on the other side. And I didn't realize that the extroverted people may also have that too. And I guess I was putting myself down so much of like the society puts kind of rewards the extroverted people so much in my head when I was growing up. And I didn't feel like I had anything to offer or that the extroverted people would be even interested or kind of feel like our side, the introverted people, our grass is greener than theirs. I kind of had a very similar conversation with an extroverted friend, and they're like, yeah, I wish I can have my own space and have my own time. So it was just, I can't remember the exact words that he shared with me, but it was like something that he was looking up to, on my side that I had that he didn't have. And I was very surprised because I didn't
Mm,
think that I had anything to offer. And so even maybe with both sides, the introvert or the extroverts people, they still judge themselves for what they don't have. And it's like neither side is really better or higher or neither side is lower or worse than the other. It's really just about accepting us for who we are. And like you said, it's like even us maybe taking a little bit more time to get ready to get out of the door. Maybe that's something to admire. And it's like because we can be able to slow down our life and our pace and really kind of be present with even just brushing teeth or even just washing our face. And I feel like we tend to judge so much of the fast pace and the hustle culture that we kind of forget that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to be introspective. It's okay to have our own time. It's okay to not want to connect. And I think that's the message that I found for us here is just have that and to give ourselves that permission to do that and to slow down a
Yeah,
little bit.
absolutely. Yes, I completely agree with you. Slowing down is actually a good thing. And
Mm,
in our society, we're in such a rush, 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 like we have somewhere to be, like there's a deadline.
yeah.
I used to run deadline all the time, and I was on constant anxiety and stress, and because I lived in that reality for so long, like over a decade, I
Mm,
thought that was me because I was like so hot temper, so short in patience. I was just not in a good place. And now pulling back from all those distractions, right? All those are just
mm,
distractions, trying to get you to focus on a deadline, focus on promotion, trips, things like that. You really forget what is the most important thing in your life. For me, it's definitely connections and relationships with
mm.
the people I care
Wow.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you make that distinction for yourself? Because we're such in a society that we reward the being busy, we reward hitting those deadlines, right? How did you make that switch for yourself?
Let's talk about recently. Recently, I have stepped more into my power and decide that if I'm in a game and I don't know the rule of the game, I'm gonna lose. And also the rule maker wins the game. So our whole life, Suzanne, we have been following other people's rules. Can we make our own rules and become the rule makers? I don't know, but I decided, you know what? I'm gonna be my own rule makers. So recently, when somebody say, "Hey Sally, if you do this, you will get this," as a incentive to get me to do what they want. And originally, I was my old self. I'll be like, yeah, for sure, because I want to show that I can do it, and I want to belong to some sort of group, and I just want to be accepted, right? But nowadays, I don't even care if they accept me or want to be with me. I tell myself in the head, I'm not gonna play your game. I'm gonna not gonna follow your rule.
Mm,
I will do it if I feel like it, if it aligns with my goal. And this is where goals is so important, Suzanne, because I wasn't too clear about what I wanted to do with my life. When I say goal, it's not just 5 years, 10 years. It's my life's goal. What do I want
mm,
to leave for my great grandchildren? Those kind of goals, right?
wow.
Think the decisions that I'm making right now, that's going to affect the next 3 generations. That is the goals and the vision I'm talking about. And when you have that clear vision, you're no longer playing somebody else's game. You're making your own path and you're
Wow.
making your own rules. And you might be writing a manual, hey, if you do A, B is gonna happen, but you can also do C and D is gonna happen. Like I wanna craft that path for the next generation, not just follow anybody's rules. You can break any rules if you want, as long as it's ethical and it doesn't kill anybody. There are times that I just sit by myself and I think about so many thoughts, and then I track back to how did this thought come about? And that's a
Mm,
very powerful tool because when you have that metacognitive, I guess that's what you call it, you rethink your thoughts. You
yeah.
get to control your thoughts.
Yeah. I love that. I I love that. I do that too. It's like that backtracking of how did I get to this place that I am in right now. And I love how you also shared the goals and playing your own games and not really sticking to the society's or other people's expectations of you because we did grow up with so many of other people's expectations of us. It's almost like I felt that if I didn't follow what they said was good for me, that I wouldn't be able to fit in or that I will kind of be rejected and be kind of left alone. Obviously, we're all social creatures, so we want to fit into the group, right? But by me doing that, basically, I learned that I've completely let go of myself and I was a people pleaser. That's how I became a people pleaser. And so I love that you just said that when you shift it, it's like, I don't want to play anybody else's rules. It's I'm going to create my own rules. And that's super powerful. And you create your own goals and you think about the legacy that you want to build for your family in the future. I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, most people don't think about that. They make decisions really hastily and very
Mm,
irresponsibly
yeah.
because they don't think that their decision is going to affect anybody else. It
Mm.
affects everybody. Your parents, you, your kids, your kids' kids.
Yes.
Yeah, when you think about that, you're like, yeah, let me think about that before I get back to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good point that I want to also point out. I had to learn to say like, "Hey, I want to think on this. I don't want to give you an answer just yet," because I'm the type, and I learned that I do best when I'm making a decision to take that time for myself and really feel how I feel about it before I make any decision and give the other person what my decision is. So I had to learn to ask for, "Hey, I'm gonna get back to you." But let me think about this or let me sleep on this first. And I remember last time I did that, like the other person like completely respected me for it. He's like, yeah, please go for it. Like take your time. And it was when first learned that I can ask for that as a permission. It was super powerful for me. It's like, oh my God, now I can really be in my own introspective world and kind of think about it, feel about it before I even decide on anything. Because there were so many times that I decided on something. I kind of jumped the guns because extroverted world, you're supposed to take action quick and jump on and take the opportunity. But then there were so many times that I did that, and then I just kind of regretted the decision afterwards. So when I learned that I do best when I take that time for the decisions, that's when I kind of was able to step into my own kind of genius and say, okay, no, I'm going to take this time for myself and kind of playing by my own rules.
Absolutely. One other thing that I want to share is so one of the goals is I aspire to become a public speaker.
Mm,
And I think everybody is conditioned to be fearful in front of speaking in front of
yes.
people, not just introverts. But another challenge that introvert has is that, well, I don't know about other people, but we have like this voice inside our head that just keep talking, right? You can't do it. You're an introvert. You're not supposed to speak on stage. It's like you're not supposed to because you are labeled as something. And that was
Mm,
the thought that was getting in my head when I had to start doing public speaking at first. My mentor was the first person who was like, "Hey, Sally, you can do it. You speak well. You just gotta go up there and share about your thoughts." And I was thinking, like, me? Hearing about my thoughts? Does anybody care? So the first time I remember going up to probably in front of 10 people talking about where I'm from, my background, and what is my goal, I was shaking. And my mentor told me that, "Are you okay afterwards?" And I can feel that my face was like red because I felt it was burning. That was the beginning of my public speaking journey. And I think afterwards, I assessed the situation. Hey, I'm still alive. I'm here. It was challenging and it was scary, but I kind of met some of the eyes in the audience that they looked at me like,
mm,
wow, I relate to you. That is so cool. So those are the things that motivated me to continue with public speaking because one time my cousin actually came up to me, asked that, "Hey, Sally, have you been doing public speaking?" I said, "No, why?" "I love it when you stand up there and talk because it's so inspiring. It
yes.
makes me think." And I was like, "Oh, really?" A lot of time we don't think about that, right? And also another time, one of my colleagues would tell me that, "Hey, Sally, there's something about you when you stand up there and you talk. You are different than if I was to talk to you one on one." And that's when I realized that maybe there are people who stand up there and speak very energetically, give a lot of motivation. But there are also people who stand up there and talk in terms of even in front of 1,000 people, we are
Mm,
able to talk in a way that you can connect with a person one on one in front of 1,000
mm,
people. If that makes sense.
mm.
You
Yep,
just
yep, yep.
find the story and connecting. And for myself, I don't know about other people, but being an introvert, I think about that a lot. How do I share my story in a way where they feel like I'm talking straight to them, not just to a
Mm,
crowd?
yeah, wow. Yeah. And I feel like, first of all, I want to shout out to Sally. She won the semifinalists at the speaking challenge that where we first met the event with Jen Gottlieb. So when I first heard her speaking, I'm like, oh my God, this girl has something to share with the world. And that's why I wanted to stay connected with you. And I love that you're able to share your message with the world right now. And she gets into like this genius when she's just like kind of in the zone, and I can totally see her like on the stage and sharing her experience that she's introspected so much about her own life, and to share that with the world, and kind of like speaking to that person, that's one single person in like in the audience that feels maybe a little awkward, or feels like he doesn't fit in, or feels a little bit introverted to be in this whole space of other people who are trying to socialize and networking. And that's huge, and that's, I feel like that's because you're able to like internalize and have that empathy of how you personally feel first, and understand how your emotions and your own inner world. And that's why you're able to bring that genius to to the other people and deliver that kind of emotion, because you totally understand them. And I feel like that's kind of the genius of us being introverted, quote unquote, as just a label that the society gives us. But I think that's kind of where we think it's so natural for us to think about all these thoughts that we have in our head all the time. But when we kind of start talking to other people and say, no, other people don't think that way. And when you're able to deliver that kind of new perspective to them because you've thought of it so much, then it's kind of refreshing. It's almost like it feels so natural to you, and it's almost a given. You take it for granted, but because other people don't think that way, then you're able to offer that beautiful gift to other people as well. So I think that's kind of where you've been able to tap into, Sally, beautifully, and you can share this gift with other people.
Wow. I have no idea I have that gift. And I think in terms of our introverted world, right? We don't care for like 10 friends. If I have one friend, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And one thing I have came to accept is that Michael cannot be everything for me. He can't be my,
Mm,
I mean, he's still my best friend, my husband, and my business partner and whatnot. But there are certain intellectual needs and emotional needs that I accept he cannot fulfill that. And that's
mm.
where a friendship with another introvert who is an entrepreneur could fill that gap.
Yes, yes. That having that codependency on the other person, of like having that even your partner fulfilling every need that you have, that's kind of very heavy on the other person. And so being able to have these kind of friendships and like bounce these ideas off of each other and really understand each other from a different way, I think that's a beautiful way to build the relationships and the connections that you talked about, that has been so important for you in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also with this podcast, Suzanne, we would like to build a community to support
Mm.
Asian
Yeah.
American. If they're women, we are both hands down, want to help you. If you are also an introvert, you mark all the box, just like us, right? But eventually, just know that there's a community out there
Mm.
exist. You're not
Yeah.
alone, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta know where to find it. And interestingly, with AI and the technology, once you start paying more attention to the category that might relate to you, more start popping up, and slowly
Yes.
you're gonna find that community for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you one last question. As somebody who's maybe introverted, listening to us right now, they're about to maybe start their entrepreneurial journey. What would be one advice that you would give them for them to really accept themselves for who they are?
Yeah. I honestly believe anybody can be an entrepreneur. Basically,
Mm,
somebody that recognize there is a problem somewhere and you could create a solution to solve that, right? You're an entrepreneur offering values, offering solutions. And as an introvert like myself, I think what really helps me is I love books. I don't know about you,
mm,
but I always trying to find books or find some sort of readings on internet and trying to connect and find, hey, is somebody like me similar to my background? They don't have to be Asian female, but maybe they could be a millennial that loves medical field and succeed in being an entrepreneur.
mm,
I think finding that community is the number one thing. If it wasn't for the group of colleagues and the people that I was associated with, I don't think I would survive in the financial industry by myself.
mm,
I didn't even intend to be in that industry to start with. And because of the community, all the challenges that I was facing, even though they didn't go through it the way I did, but I felt less alone. And I
Mm,
felt more motivated because eventually the team is also depending on me. And I
mhm,
think as a human being, knowing that you're part of something
mm,
and that you have a duty, responsibility, somebody is depending on you. You're not just making decision by yourself and living for yourself. You're
mm,
living for the group. That thought alone for me helps propel me to entrepreneurship and
mm.
hang on to it. It's
Yeah,
tough, it's hard, but I hung on because I know people are depending on me.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah, that's
I'm not sure
huge.
if that helps with the question.
Yes,
Finding
yes,
community.
absolutely. Yeah, finding people like you and kind of I think one thing I wanna add on to that is when you can see other people kind of sharing their stories or their success stories is when I learned that like a girl like Jamie Kern Lima, I love her to death woman. She started from her living room, starting her own cosmetic company, and she sold it for over $1 billion. It's like seeing stories like that and finding community or people that you admire and you look up to, it kind of gave me the permission to know that okay, if she can do it, then I can also do it. And I've told myself so many times and giving myself the example, it's like, okay, if other ladies have done it, then I can figure it out too, then I can do it too. And it kind of gave me the permission to be like, okay, I'm okay, there are other people who have walked the same path. I can reach out to them. I can look for advice. So it's like having that community of people who walk that path and you're not alone. We're never alone. So I think that, yeah, that's a really good point of finding that community that you connect with. And it's okay that you don't necessarily connect with everybody or that you relate to everybody. It's also giving you that permission to say, it's like, no, this community is not for me. I feel better in this community. I feel more
Mhm.
safe and also recognize that for yourself too.
Yeah. Would there
Yeah.
be any readings or any books you would recommend for an
Mm.
introvert starting out?
I'm gonna quote Jamie Kern Lima again. It's the first book by Jamie Kern Lima. I can't
Mhm.
remember the title now. I'll drop it in the show notes. But that's where she shared her story of how basically she was even an adopted child. She didn't know that her mother who raised her was not her biological mother. It was kind of her story, but almost like an autobiography of how she overcame all her struggles to become who she is today. So I think that would be one book that I would recommend from Jamie Kern Lima that I'll drop the title in the show notes.
Okay. I think it's
Yeah.
called Believe It or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah.
Believe It. Okay.
Yeah, that's right, that's the one. Yeah. How
Yeah,
about
yeah.
you?
I think one of the skills that we must learn, everybody, not just introvert, is communication
Mm,
and social skills. And I always recommend the book How to Win Friends and Influence People
mm,
by Dale Carnegie. Yeah, the title might be intimidating because you might think you're trying to control people's mind or manipulate them. No, that's not it. It actually offers a really good perspective of understanding people's behaviors and how you should respond to win them
mm.
over on your side. And
Yeah.
that's very important.
That's one book that's still on my list, so be going up in my priority list now. Let us know if you guys like these kind of contents and if you can relate in any way, and if there's any kind of topics you want us to cover, being Asian American, being maybe females, entrepreneurs, maybe in a relationship, anything we talk about. We kind of have some ideas coming up. We can talk about relationships, we can talk about connections, we can talk about, we had a whole list. But if you guys have any topics that you want us to cover, or if you have any questions on anything that we talked about that you want us to cover more, definitely let us know in the show notes and the comments down below.
If you're a listener, keep dialing in because you are witnessing our growth and two very newbie in podcasts trying to make something of ourselves. And I think it's such a beautiful privilege to be able to see somebody grow from nothing to something.
For sure. We're definitely not to the point for me of where I want to be at in my entrepreneurial journey. So, still learning and growing every single day.
So,
Grateful to have a friend like you, Sally, right next to me to share this journey with because this entrepreneurial journey is definitely not an easy one.
yep, it's hard, but I think it's so much fun. And I love that you have a curiosity kind of point of view into doing things. And that makes things so much easier. I actually want to leave everybody with a saying that I have recently gave for myself. Don't take life too seriously
Mm,
because when you do, you stop having fun. And when you
yeah.
stop having fun, you're going to start dreading.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's when things get hard.
That's true. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sally, for giving us your time.
And I'm looking forward to many more.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have many more to come.
All
We'll
right, so
see you
I'll
guys
see you
next
guys
time.
soon. Bye.
Bye.